And the Bible tells us, we pick up in verse 17. It says, and he said to them, Jesus shows up. By the way, verse 16 tells you, unlike last week when we talked about Mary Magdalene, verse 16 tells you that their eyes were purposely blinded. They didn't recognize Jesus. Okay? Last week we talked about that her problems clouded her vision. That wasn't the case here. But it is similar. Verse 17 says, he shows up and he says to them, hey, what kind of conversation is this that you're having with one another as you walk and you're so sad? Then one of those whose name was Cleopas answered him and said, are you the only one in Jerusalem who have not known the things which happened there in these days? That's like asking somebody, do you realize Michael Jackson died? No one, everybody would be like, of course we know that. Where have you been? Have you been in a cave? Every news report, every entertainment show, every newspaper, every internet site has a story about Michael Jackson. So if you don't know Michael Jackson dead, I got news for you. He died. And I really don't care that much about it. But I'm just comparing it. So Jesus says, what's going on? Why are you guys so sad? And by the way, I'll get to this in a second. Let me just, I got a bone to pick. Where was it? Okay. He shows up and he says to them, so Cleopas says, are you, what's going on? Are you mad? Do you not know what just happened in Jerusalem? And he said to them, what things? Now this is Jesus. What are you talking about? Now I don't know about you, but see, people often criticize. I'm not that funny. I don't think I'm a funny guy. I'm pretty dry, but I know many people who like to tell jokes when they preach, and people get offended. How dare you tell jokes? How dare he be funny? Isn't this church? Let me tell you something. Jesus was funny. You got to read this and realize Jesus was a hoot. He's there, and he's messing with these two guys who are like, haven't you heard? And Jesus, who's just the center of these things that they're talking about, says, what things? I don't know about you, but that's funny stuff. That's funny stuff. So we criticize people. Now, some people take it way, way too far. But let me tell you something. It's okay to have fun. I don't want this to be a Good Friday service every Sunday. How you doing? Fine. Come on. This is church. You've been saved. You've been washed in the blood. You've been sanctified. You've been set apart. You are a child of the living God, and you walk around like somebody just died. Pastor Joe always said, if you're happy, let your face know about it. Man, there's nothing more painful. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I'm in a cloud, and I can be serious, but let me tell you something. Serious is one thing. Just plain old nasty and ornery, cut it out. Cut it out. I'd hate to go to lunch with some of you guys on a Sunday afternoon. Like you just ate a sour lemon. Smile. I tell you what, you guys in Sunday school got me started this morning. I'm way off track. I taught Sunday school. I was teaching on one thing. Next thing I know, I'm chasing rabbits somewhere else. Boy, you guys. Anyway, Jesus says, what things? So they begin to say to him, the things concerning Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet. By the way, who was a prophet. Now, watch what happens here. He was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and the rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we were hoping that it was he who was going to redeem Israel. Indeed, besides all this, today is the third day since these things happened. And by the way, officially, a person who had died 4 days, they were considered officially dead. Really, 3 days, at the end of the third day, they were considered officially dead. That's why the greatness of Lazarus' resurrection on the 4th day makes this a great, great miracle, because the Jews believed that by the third day the spirit would depart from the person, and there was no chance of that person coming back. So that's why they're so distraught. It's already been 3 days. It's already been 3 days. Verse 22, yes, and even certain women from our company, friends of ours, who went to the tomb this morning to anoint the body, astonished us when they did not find his body, and they came saying that they had also seen a vision of angels who said this, and he was alive. And bottom line, we didn't believe it. We don't buy it. And certain of our buddies went down to witness what these women were testifying to. And they testified that they didn't find him either. And then he said to them, "Oh, foolish ones. Oh, slow of heart to believe in all that the prophets have spoken. Ought not the Christ to have suffered these things and enter into his glory?" And verse 27. To me, one of the greatest verses in the Bible, and it's insignificant to many, but watch this. He says, "And beginning at Moses and all through the prophets, he expounded to them," he explained to them, he taught them in all scriptures concerning himself. I don't know about you, but if I could be transported to any place in time, any place, it would be right here. Now you say, "Well, that doesn't sound..." Can you imagine for a second Jesus himself taking these two men on a Bible walk and showing them through scriptures, beginning in Genesis chapter 3, and walking them through what I call the scarlet cord, showing from Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, all the way through the entire Old Testament, that Jesus would have to do exactly what just occurred. Oh, I don't know about you, but let me tell you something. There's no place I'd rather be than at the feet of Jesus, having him explain to me all that the Old Testament said. What a walk. I'm going to tell you how they responded. Verse later on, after their eyes were opened, verse 32 says, "Did not our heart burn within us while he talked with us on the road and while he opened the scriptures?" Can you imagine for a second sitting or walking with Jesus as he walks you through what this is all about? Oh, what a glorious walk that was. Then they drew near the village, verse 28. And while they were going, and he indicated that he would have gone farther. I'll see you guys. See you later. Bye. Imagine, see you guys. And he's just acting like he's going to go further. But his point was to them, invite him in. See ya. Been nice talking to you. And they go, no, stay with us. We want to hear more about this. Can you tell us more? Stay with us. Eat with us. It's getting late. There's no need for you to go any further. Now, verse 30, it came to pass, as he took and sat at the table with them. Watch me for a second. The way it worked in Jewish tradition is that if you were the guest, you were the host. So he broke the bread, gave thanks, and passed them the bread. And as he passed them the bread, the Bible says that their eyes were open because they saw the nail prints. Have you seen the resurrected Jesus?